What's up, YouTube and Wrestling Universe? WWE Stomping Ground took place on June the 23rd, 2019 for Tacoma, Washington. Here's my rundown of the results, my review, my thoughts on the show. We start off with the pre-show. We wind up getting the normal pre-show hoopla until Baron Corbin says he's waiting to the last moment to tell us who the referee is for the special guest referee match tonight. We later get Ricochet at the panel table, and he's interrupted by Samoa Joe in the backstage area, and he tells Ricochet that he's not on his level. Daniel Bryan is yelling in the back about the respect people have for the tag team division, while Rowan says Heavy Machinery as the tag team champions will be idiocracy. We get Drew McIntyre saying Roman Reigns is too emotional. 37 minutes into the pre-show, we finally wind up getting a match, and it's the triple threat match for the Cruiserweight Championship. Akira Tozawa versus Drew Gulak versus Tony Nese. This match is good and getting the crowd hyped for the pay-per-view with fast-paced, high-flying action. The problem, however, is putting this on the pre-show, which a lot of people don't even watch. The match winds up ending when Tony Nese is kicked out of the ring. Gulak hits a torture rack neckbreaker onto Akira Tozawa and becomes the new Cruiserweight Champion in a fantastic match. Charlie's at the pre-show panel table, and she says this is only a pre-show of what we'll get later tonight. Unfortunately, I think Charlie may just be drinking that WWE Kool-Aid. The match lasted a little over 10 minutes long. Next up, Becky is walking in the back, and Coach says that she'll be kicking off Stomping Ground. First match up for the Raw Women's Championship, Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans. Becky dominates the beginning of the match, with Lacey gaining control and slowing the pace a bit later. I feel like Lacey held her own, but Becky clearly made the match. Becky wins with the disarmer when Lacey Evans quickly taps her out. I hear some people saying Lacey isn't good in the ring, but for the time she's been wrestling, I don't think she's horrible. She just needs polish, which will come with the experience. We get a video package for Ali. Paul Heyman is coming out of Baron Corbin's dressing room. Kayla says that people are speculating Heyman's the referee and that Brock's here. Heyman winds up telling us nothing. Baron Corbin then comes out and says that Kayla keeps coming to his locker room and she must want something more than just an interview. Next up is Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the New Day members Big E and Xavier Woods. Kevin Owens starts off with super kicks and a top rope senton. Quick tag back and forth with high impact moves on Woods. Woods kicks out for a few pins, but Owens and Zayn continue being in control. They continue keeping Woods in and Big E out. Woods finally gets to tag to Big E, and he comes in and throws Sami around the ring for a little bit until Xavier Woods gets the second win. Match goes a little longer, and Kevin Owens gets the win after he hits the stunner on Xavier Woods in another great match. Alexa Bliss is in the back warming up, and Nikki Cross comes in. They say tonight it's us against the world. Next up is Ricochet versus Samoa Joe for the United States Championship. I don't know what it was, but I really wasn't feeling the match, and it seemed rather long. It's basically the power of Joe versus the speed and resiliency of Ricochet. I'm not saying it's a bad match, and I'm not hating on Ricochet or Joe, but at this point I was watching the replay, so it was a little late in the show for me and already knew the outcome. Ricochet winds up hitting a 630 and becomes the new United States Champion. And now I wait for the YouTube video of Casey Cazaro's reaction. Ricochet is congratulated by a group of guys in the back as we start the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. Heavy Machinery versus Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan. Daniel Bryan, close to his home, seems to be the favorite for this match. The crowd is really into this one, which I believe sometimes the audience can make a match better or worse than what it actually is. I can't say that Heavy Machinery has grown on me since the first debut in NXT. Every man looked good in this match and gets their moments. Otis and Bryan, of course, are the stars of their team. The match winds up ending when Daniel Bryan sneaks a roll-up to retain the championship. This surprisingly was a good match and really showed that Heavy Machinery are more than just a joke tag team. Daniel Bryan also showed how great he is and seemed to carry the match with Heavy Machinery following him. Next up for the SmackDown Women's Championship is Bayley versus Alexa Bliss with Nikki Cross in her corner. I have to say that I'm liking the new, more serious Bayley, and it's actually making me care about her, which I can't really remember saying I've been doing since she's been on the main roster. Towards the end of the match, Bayley dives to the outside to land on Alexa, but instead it hits Nikki. Personally, it looked to me like Bliss pushed her into it, but that wasn't acknowledged. This leads to Nikki coming in the ring as Bliss is on the top rope wanting to finish the match. Nikki comes in and gets the revenge on Bayley. This distracts Bliss long enough for Bayley to get the knees up. Then she hits the Bayley to belly to retain in a decent match. We find out that this Wednesday on NXT, the Women's Championship will be defended in a cage match when Shayna Baszler defends against Io Shirai, and I'm actually ready for Wednesday. We get a recap of the 21-7 title situation with Drake Maverick and R-Truth. Then Ricochet is taking pictures backstage. The club shows up and then AJ shows up and they take pictures together. AJ Styles says he will see Ricochet tomorrow night, so I'm assuming AJ is back and will be the first contender. Up next is the big dog. The big dog. The big dog. This is where I originally came in when the show was on live. I came in just in time to watch the big dog versus Drew McIntyre. Shane comes out and first he walks down the ramp with McIntyre. The fight starts immediately. Roman begins going after Shane while Drew is down to no avail. We take the fight to the ring where Shane winds up getting involved a few times when the referee isn't looking. Shane later catches 2 Superman punches as he tries distracting the referee, and then he gets slammed face first into the announcer table for it. Roman winds up going for a win after a Superman punch as Shane takes the referee out and then begins to attack Roman. He follows up by hitting with a coast to coast. The referee is thrown back into the ring, but Roman winds up kicking out. We actually get Roman chants in the match. Roman of course comes back and hits the spear, followed by a Superman punch for the win, and this wasn't really a bad match. Next up, the cage begins to lower for our next match for the WWE World Championship. Dolph Ziggler versus Kofi Kingston. Dolph tries to get out pretty early, followed by Kofi trying to climb out. They then decide to actually wrestle and try to wear each other down with a few pinfalls and kickouts. The action for the most part is a slower pace. Big E and Xavier aren't out for this match, by the way. They wind up battling on top of the cage, but the action makes it back into the ring where Dolph begins going after the leg. Kofi almost falls out of the door, but the attack is back on the leg. The match begins becoming a lot of wear down mat-based action at this point. As Dolph is about to exit the cage through the door, Kofi runs from the other side of the ring and he suicide dives outside of the cage over Dolph Ziggler for the win. After the match, the New Day are out and Kofi is interviewed. The dive to the outside seemed a little sloppy to me, but I'm curious if this was the way it was supposed to happen. Backstage, Drew McIntyre is mad, and Shane says we're going to get a 2-on-1 tomorrow night on Raw. And I can hardly wait for that, and I'm sure you can hear the excitement in my voice that I can't contain. Next up is a Universal Championship special referee match. The special referee turns out to be Lacey Evans. I'm a little upset to see Becky and Seth crossing paths with storylines, but at the same time, this could have been a lot worse. I'm also assuming at this point that Becky will come out and go after Lacey, causing us to get a second referee. Will it be Kurt Angle? Baron Corbin begins dominating the match and the crowd chants boring. Rollins starts coming back and Lacey Evans winds up with a slow count. We get a kick out. Corbin winds up catching a powerbomb through the announcer table. And there's another slow count by our special referee, and then she makes the match a no count out at the 8-mark count when she's counting Baron Corbin out. Lacey's shoulders is cramping up during the 3 count. Baron winds up using a chair, so apparently now this is also no disqualification. Lacey then officially makes it no disqualification. There's a Falcon Arrow by Seth Rollins onto the chair, and then Lacey refuses to count, and then she slaps Seth Rollins twice and then low blows him. Corbin winds up hitting the end of days, but Becky is out, going after Lacey. And it looks like we're going to need a new referee now, and it's John Cone, the same referee from Super Showdown. Rollins hits a super kick and then the curve stomp to retain. We get some smiling and hugging as we celebrate. A lot of stalling to get out of the ring, and then they begin walking to the back as we go off the air. And I was beginning to wonder if Brock Lesnar was coming out, because this looked a little awkward. Guys, that's it, and I have to say Stomping Ground was better than expected, and definitely a step up from Super Showdown. There was no Bray Wyatt, there was no Sheamus, no Shayna Baszler, and no Brock Lesnar. I hope Brock Lesnar is okay. I know he would never intentionally want to miss an event. Quick question that I hope I get some replies to. Who would you push, who would you release, and who would you job out if your choices are Baron Corbin, Roman Reigns, and Shane McMahon? You have to choose one for each. I'm honestly tired of all three of them. I think I have to push Corbin and job out Roman. Shane needs to take a step away and move to a manager role or office position. There are honestly too many guys on the roster that aren't doing anything right now, and we don't need Shane taking the spotlight. Anyhow, guys, let me know what you thought of the show. I believe next on the WWE side of things is SummerSlam. However, for those who are interested, there's lots of videos coming that have been on the back burner. AEW, ROH, Shine, Impact reviews are all coming as well, so stay tuned.